Okay, so we're ready to get started. So, take roll. Colin?
Here.
Olympia, he's not here, right?
Correct.
Randall?
She is not coming.
Okay. Richardson?
Here, Dubuque.
Oh, is what?
Dubuque. Yeah, I got married in
Well, good for
Yeah.
you. Okay, so, how do you spell it?
It's DI capital B UPPO.
And then Buck, who's on, Colette's on line.
I'm here.
And Berger.
Burger, like hamburger.
Berger. I do have that written down. It's on my phone.
When I was a kid, it was booger.
Oh,
I can imagine.
Okay, and citizen participation, do you have anything for us tonight? Okay, approval of minutes.
I move we approve the minutes as submitted.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
All right, and then we are right up to the aquatics.
Okay. So I left my agenda at the UV, so I'll make a quick impromptu note to remember everything here. So basically, the construction, we hit a bit of a snag this past month, and I brought just two pictures to show you, just to help illustrate. So these spaghetti-looking things are our saving grace right now, because these are hooked up to a machine, a generator that's keeping those warm, that's keeping the soil so that the soils can be moved. Well, unfortunately, these they got ran over by a forklift, and so it made it so that the heat wasn't possible, which created a domino effect. We were supposed to pour concrete like 2 weeks ago. Anyway, that had a trickling effect by not being able to pour the concrete, and then now we've hit this really cold weather where it's hard to do almost anything. So anyway, I wanted to show you this just in case anybody, were to ever ask you. It's so like the dirt contractor can only be there on a certain day, but when they came and it's frozen because these are not there, then the subcontractors get stacked up. And then another thing I'll just show you, just a visual of these blankets. Everything that we're doing out there right now is covered with these tarps essentially, but just to keep things warm and dry. And so it's just a ton of work, and it's we're really relying on that little extra effort to make it so the contractors are able to do things. So with all that being said, the building path is not really delayed right now. The way we see it, it could be slightly behind schedule, but they should be able to catch up. Tomorrow they're pouring a concrete floor. You'll start seeing some good progress there. The big challenge that we've been uncovering recently is that our pool contractor is more behind schedule than we realized. We're gonna have a meeting next Wednesday to understand exactly what that means, but, and I think Todd's on there, and Todd can definitely chime in too, but honestly, like at this point, it seems very realistic that end of June is more realistic than opening right on June 13th, unless the pool contractors can start getting their ducks in a row. There's some things they can do. It takes, maybe 14 days for them to get like the pool equipment and the water filled and do all these different things, but they are definitely behind schedule, and we're working really hard with our general contractor and architect to push them along so that they're not too far behind schedule. Todd, did you want to chime in on that at all?
Yeah, I mean, it was what we're going through right now is they're having difficulties with with select contractor being their sub, that being Walker. We haven't settled on anything. We don't think there is a delay. We think this is a contractor issue, and Walker needs to start addressing it soon. And I am not, unless there's something fairly demonstrated on that was, our responsibility. I told Walker that we'd probably start looking at liquidated damages. Liquidated damages are about $5,300 a day. Past that, that should get their attention. it should be able to negotiate with Select. So as of right now, yeah, we're looking, we're not looking to extend this further than what we wanted. We've had internal discussions about if we didn't miss that, if we did miss that deadline of opening up during the last day of school, could we open it up and have a 4th of July celebration if we were to push that? So that's beyond that. That gets a little bit, that's a pretty short season for us. The other thing that we're looking at is if people are excited to get started with buying their passes or whatever they need. We just need a little bit more time to nail down that schedule. I'd hate to have them pay for a full season and we come in a couple weeks later. I think we should be able to get this nailed down this next month and get the news out if we're going to be opening on time or if we're going to be a little bit delayed. So right now, working diligently with the contractor. We are meeting with him on Tuesday to talk about the most updated schedule, and that being with the Select. The contractor Select of the pool. And good news, I believe the pool is here. Dan, if you want to kind of highlight that is, the Conex boxes are showing up.
Yes, that's a perfect segue there. And so people, like the Parks and Rec Department has rightfully pointed out that we need to start doing some good messaging about creating expectations if we are aware of a firm delay, and we'll do that. We just haven't really got anything concrete to say, hey, we're going to be this far behind. But like Todd said, the pool is here. And so like if you drive by there, you'll see these pallets all over the place, but even on the concrete deck. And I had a video I was going to show you, just to remind you guys how the pool went together. But just real quickly, so next Tuesday, they're going to start, these are the pool walls, but at the very bottom, there's this little brace. It's like this tall, it looks something like this. So next week, they'll start putting the brace in all the way around the perimeter of the pool. And then they can start standing the walls up. So pretty soon here, in the course of the next 2 to 4 weeks, it's going to look like we have pools. So just a kind of reminder, this is the panels have this PVC liner in here. And anyway, so that's kind of exciting. That's out there if anybody wants to feel what that's like.
Do you want me to show the video?
Do you guys want to see the video again? Or
Yeah, we will.
Okay, cool.
We like video.
That's even better. Hey, sorry online, you might not be able to see this, I'm not sure.
I'll try and share my screen.
It's okay.
While Kelly's looking, one of the challenges is that it has to be 14 degrees or above for them to put this epoxy material in there. And so next week, though, it sounds like it's going to start picking up quite a bit more than what it is right now.
Okay, I can get it.
Okay, well, Kelly, oh, there we go.
Is there no sound?
This is,
So that's what they're putting all the way around.
yeah, that's the part, that bottom part first, and then they're going to start dropping the walls in.
But they have to wait till it's warmer to do that?
Well, it's pretty close, and we could also put a tent over it and heat it. That is an option to get it to be.
And would the contractors pay for that since they're behind?
That would something we'd be negotiating with, but that would be the expectation, yeah.
This is cool, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm a
so,
visual person.
good, I'm glad to hear that. And so one of the other things too is that, you see all these bolts that are going together? Like,
Yeah.
they just need to be visually inspected, and like some of them have to be torque tested to make sure that they're at the proper. So it goes up really fast, but there's a lot of attention to detail and a lot of,
And do they have to be certified to check that?
yes, we're paying a geotechnical engineer to come do that. I mean, it's
Wow.
expensive.
Yeah, I bet.
Worth it though.
No, they'll bolt them together in the middle right here.
The two come together?
Yeah, then they put a seam in here. It's a, like a liquid PVC.
Oh, okay.
And it firms it up and makes it watertight. And then, so as the budget right now, we have $117,000 of contingency. Of the first $11 million contract, $11,400,000, we had a 3.5% contingency. We're down to about $117,000. As Todd mentioned, often is that a lot of times on our capital projects, we would ask for almost triple that amount of contingency just in case. So with that amount that we currently have, we're roughly earmarked that amount in expenditure. So a lot of the, 50,000 of the expenditures are for electrical stuff for the pool and the variable frequency drives for the pool that were just, we didn't realize it wasn't in there until you start bolting stuff together. Another thing is that like with the showers, there's like we can, for $20,000, we can make it so that the showers are basically good for the rest of our lives. But anyway, you add up those little things like that and it gets you right around that 117,000. One of the things I'd like to point out, and Todd played a really big part of this, but we basically had a meeting a couple weeks ago with the pool contractors, basically a negotiation. They were trying to get the city to pay a decent amount of money so that they could get caught back up on track. But, the decision was made that it wasn't a wise expenditure for the city to pay that money, not knowing when and if they were going to get back on schedule. So a byproduct of that conversation is that North 8th Street is now closed, in case you haven't seen it, on Cedar Street for about 200 yards north. And the reason why is that now they can use that little area over there to maneuver around with deliveries and concrete pour, stuff like that. Another operational thing that came up this month was someone from the city, Matt Meyer, is going to be taking his pool AFO course in March, so we'll have somebody that's pool guru.
Who's taking that class?
Matt Meyer from Parks. Big Matt.
Used to play football at Eastern.
Okay, so he's taking the AFO class.
He is, yes.
Is he taking it, where is he taking it at?
It's in Asotin. Leslie's working on this truck.
Washington.
They're scarce and they fill up fast, so at the Asotin Aquatic Center.
Oh.
Another thing that we're looking at right now is some credit card processing type stuff. That's not really probably that interesting. We're also working on ordering pool deck chairs. We had to go out for a request for a proposal because it's above $7,500. We're looking at roughly $30,000 to $50,000 worth of pool chairs. There's a ton of space that we need to fill. And so anyways, that's in the paper. You'll see it here soon. And so we'll hopefully start getting bids for those. And then went kind of fast. The last thing I wanted to share a little bit about was concessions. And one of the great resources we've had lately is the city of Walla Walla has been helping us with a ton of stuff. It's just a great resource. They've been sharing about their operations, including concessions. And one of the things that was kind of interesting is that we talked about how our study said that we could have over 1,000 visitors per day, and we were like, oh, that seems pretty unrealistic, and it may be, but Walla Walla really is seeing over 1,000 visitors per day, and they for the last 5 years that has actually increased. Like we thought, you open a new facility, it may decrease, but anyway, some of these suggestions that they have is this Slurpee looking deal is something called Frazzle.
They look delicious.
And the cool thing about it is that you buy these boxes. That's the thing. You enter into an agreement where you have to purchase a certain amount of boxes. It's relatively small amounts for our operational size. The real trick would be trying to figure out the right amount. But you get these dry goods, and then you add liquid, and they give you the machines for it, and then the average profit margin is about 60 cents per beverage. And so, you do pay for it up front, and then, but the thing that we would need is 2 feet by 2 feet of space and some other logistical things. But this seems like an interesting one for our staff to be able to do. Could be a good moneymaker. On the back of this is,
No,
Okay.
I looked at it, but it didn't.
on the back of this is some other things that they recommended that seem like they could be good, that they could be good menu options for us that would be
So when
relatively.
we're looking at Rose's, are they and Domino's, they're gonna supply pizza?
Okay, so got a little ahead of me, but let me share that. So,
Oh, sorry.
no, it's okay. No, so Walla Walla, they have a partnership with their Domino's over there, and Domino's sells them pizza at wholesale cost. And then it's similar to the Frazzle deal, is that they're happy to, during the summertime, have volume because nobody's ordering pizzas in summer. They're making pennies on the dollar, but they're delivering to the facility, and the facility is making a good return on investment for pizza. And so the reason why I wanted to include it on there is that, and I put Rose's too, is that we could either maybe piggyback on their arrangement with Domino's here is locally owned and do something similar, and we may want to include Rose's too, at least put it out for a competitive offer. But that could be a really popular, easy thing for our staff to do, is basically just make the order several times a day. Another thing is just like that Walla Walla does, and Kelly and I have talked about, that it seems like a good maybe investment would be like this little nacho machine, nacho cheese. And they use it for pretzels and for nachos, and it doesn't take up a ton of space. And then you've got your typical candy and sodas. If we're working with MAC right now, we have very limited space for concessions. And so we're challenged to even do some of this stuff right now in our current configuration. And so they're gonna see if we can make that work. Really, it seems like a concession trailer in the future, like what Spokane County does, would be a really good deal. And then also not operate it ourselves, have an arrangement where someone else operates it for us. But one of the things we talked about last park board meeting was some concessions logistics. And so it seems like my recommendation would be that we would allow outside food and beverage to come in, with the exception of glass. There's only one facility that said that they're not allowing it in. The benefit is that as a cost affordable option for families to bring in stuff. And if we decided that was an issue, they were too messy or whatever, we could always curtail that. There would be designated seating areas. The regional health district really frowns on food in the pool, so obviously we'd have to, make some logistical decisions there. But the other thing is that people ask about, could you leave? And the consensus seemed to be that leaving with a stamp seemed like a pretty reasonable thing if someone wanted to go out in the park and come back. So, yeah, that's it.
Or will safe stamps, like it won't come off for several hours in the pool?
Well, I think for the purpose of that, you would be able to just get a stamp, go out and come back in, and then if you go in the pool, you probably get re-stamped.
Okay, so a whole lot of stamps.
It could be, yeah.
I'm sorry if it's been mentioned before, and I know it would take up space, but are we doing vending machines at all?
Yes, we do have space for 2 vending machines.
Cool.
I've actually had a really hard time getting in touch with, there's only, I Googled vending machines. Inland Empire Vending is the one that they kind of, I think they're looking at us as like not maybe worth their time or something, because we haven't been able to get a good response from them. But yeah, we do have space for 2 vending machines, and it's getting wired in for that here soon, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dan, you were talking about contingency. Do you have concerns about the need for additional funds in that contingency fund?
I think that once we go above ground, which we're transitioning to right now, the unknowns are going to be considerably less. I think the odds of us not busting our $117,000 is very slim. I think it seems like we would have to go for an appropriation increase at some point. I would expect. What do you think, Todd?
Yeah, you have to understand that the contract amount itself was really over 13 million, and we had a $13 million bond. So I give credit to Paul Schmidt for his fight to take some money also out of the park mitigation, which would qualify new facilities to that end, but also to take monies out of what they call the real estate excise tax refund, which allows us to move forward with capital projects. So that's where that 400,000 came from. There is some more money if the ask is there, if we go over that contingency. But like Dan was saying, typically these projects run between 5 and 10% on contingency because there are some unknowns. Most of the unknowns is usually underground, and we got hit hard with a lot of unsuitable soil, some stormwater systems around the area that was in really bad shape. And then sump pump well, like Dan was saying, some electrical and pump configurations that we needed to kind of work through a change order process. But like I say, that one is, the city is putting towards their park mitigation money and also the REIT funds to that end. So we'll continue to work with that 117 that we have left. And then we'll look towards probably the April or May to see if we need to go back for an appropriation increase.
Any questions? We have down here interviewing aquatic staff.
For the past 2 weeks, I have been interviewing aquatic staff.
Yay!
And applications are still coming in, which is good. We have about 4 people hired for hospitality, so front desk at the pool, and then we have 2 head lifeguards and 2 lifeguards right now.
Yay!
They haven't been offered jobs. These are people that we would like to hire. Carrie's gonna reach out to them next week.
Do they have their lifeguarding certification?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there have been some people who have called and asked if they could interview before they get their certification, and I told them yes and gave them the information, because we have 2 lifeguarding classes that are scheduled at EWU. And so I got that information out on social media and an email to everybody, so hopefully we'll get some people signed up to that. I also have scheduled some visits to some high schools to try and get some kids interested in working for the pool as well, because we need around 40 lifeguards. So,
Do you need help with recruitment? I'll go with you.
okay, yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank
Send
you.
me an email.
Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
Right there. Any other questions? Okay, we're on the dog park. Todd.
Yeah, Paul contacted me, wanted to kind of put together some numbers because we are really not getting to the dog park, and he wanted to kind of finish that up. So I think what we have here is kind of an estimated to get what was, I think, talked about with Paul. And let me pull up my spreadsheet here. The only thing that I do have on that spreadsheet is that you'll notice at the bottom, the Salnay parking lot restoration is really not the dog park one. This lot needs to be paved irrespective. So that really doesn't meet the dog park. And when we talk about dog park, we're talking about park mitigation to pretty much, because it is new, it does qualify for park mitigation. So about half of that is the restoration of a little over half is the restoration of the parking lot, which is going to have to come from basically, like I said before, a REIT fund or something to that end to pave that Salnay parking lot. The remaining is qualified for park mitigation. So I went in and I from my notes and what Paul has talked to me about, we're looking at about 3,000 cubic yards of fill. That fill will be coming from our 50-acre park. We have a huge supply of fill over in that area. Right now, my street supervisor is trying to get quotes from some local contractors to basically haul in some of the topsoil that we have stored over in that area. And then the clover seed obviously would go in there. What we would need to do is we would need to bring in half the fill on that area, fence everything off, and get it ready to seed, let the seed take, and then switch over to the other half if we're going to maintain and keep that dog park open during that time. So we'll have to do some basically construction fencing configuration to kind of work on that in addition to the small dog park as well. So, and then all of these items are the items that which would cost if we were probably just to hire everything out. And so I know we can probably, if we have time to get some of these things done, we'll certainly, um, try to put our attention to it. But with the aquatic center opening up and everything else, I mean, we could be a little bit short-staffed here to get some of these things done. So I think the water meter installed and the water fountain, we would probably ask our water department to obviously do the tap, set the meter, and possibly maybe set the fountains for us, since they're the expertise in water and that type of stuff. So I think that one, I just put the drinking fountain itself. I just went out and found two of those style of drinking fountains with the dog dish down below and a fountain on top for somebody to take a drink. And I was looking at two of those, one in the small dog park and one in the large dog park. We have purchased the shelter, and then we do have a pad, and then I basically the assembly. If for some reason staff can't get to the assembly, or even volunteers can't get to the assembly, whatever we need to do to assemble that shelter, that is just put in there for having somebody come out and assemble that shelter, and that's with the pad as well.
We also have a bench that the Lions Club
Sure.
donated funds for.
Yeah, yeah. I think what we need to do is figure out, is that tied into the shelter? Is it set separately? As we're pouring the concrete, we'll probably just do a little bit of an anchor for that bench.
Okay.
This looks.
Obviously, this would have to be a budget amendment to the parks. Um, which would take council action. And Paul is very aware of that. That's why he wanted those numbers, probably to propose that as we move forward in a city council meeting to do basically a budget amendment for this project. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
When you say clover, are you talking about the clover that grows little white flowers?
Yeah, yeah. Colette asked to look at clover, and so I did. Drought tolerant. We don't have an irrigation system in there, so the clover usually will grow to a length about 6 inches is all. And if you do mow it, it can become a little bit more plush. There's some grasses the same way. You've seen some grasses that only grow a certain height, and you can mow them too. But I did price out clover to that end.
The thing with clover is that it's going to attract bees, and that's kind of a concern with the dogs to step on them or eat them.
Yeah, I would say that there is some grasses that would with non-clover we could try to accommodate too. We're going to take a look at doing some of that in our 50-acre park as well. It only reaches it's a seasonal one. It reaches up to about a foot, but once you mow it, then it kind of stays. It doesn't really hardly grow. It's slow growing. So that could be options to take a look at if we want to take a look at grass instead of clover. Good point. I mean, if there's bees around there, we don't want a lot of bees there as well.
There is this, it's like a fern-like grass that I see on campus at EWU all the time. And I keep finding it as yarrow. It's YARROW, but I was hesitant to say anything because I'm not 100% certain. But it's a small fern like grass, and it grows flat and it's really soft and beautiful, and I don't think it would attract bees. So let me look into it with a little more diligence.
Yeah, if you want to get Kelly that information, she can pass it on to me. We'll certainly take a look at that.
Colette, did you have a question?
I was just going to say that so yarrow actually does sprout flowers as well. So I don't know how attractive it is to pollinators, but I think that there are definitely clover out there that don't have the white flowers in them. Um, so I really just want to stress looking at like drought resistant or drought tolerant things that don't get too tall. And I think Todd is kind of on the same wavelength. Because we want to make sure it's plush and also, that it's not attracting bees, and it's not going to be a huge maintenance problem for the city. Because I mean, it's just more square footage for us to have to take care of and put in that mowing rotation. But I believe that there are clover or species of clover rather that don't have those tiny flowers. Um, So I'm not sure what they're called though. But yarrow does flower as well. I don't know how frequent it is or what that like reproduction cycle looks like, but those are all good options too.
We have the non-flowering clover in our yard. My husband planted it because it requires less water, so I'll ask him what kind it is.
And according to a Google search, yarrow is very much a pollinator attractor and brings all kinds of bees to the yard, if I can make that joke, so.
Yeah, I'd like to avoid bees, so I'm going to do it all. Thank you.
Other things that up for consideration when the dog park gets pretty much everything in place. We talked about the maintenance of it is one thing. I know that there's companies that will go out and just spot check and maybe even remove poop. There's companies out there. One thing to consider maybe is there's a lot of fence area along. That's a very big park area. Something that you might consider is doing some type of advertising where if people just want to put a banner up, just like a baseball or an event, and pay that and maybe take that funding towards the maintenance of that park, whether it's mowing or people going in there and just kind of sweeping the area, making sure it's cleaned up. That could be an option. I think you could get probably several banners in there paying an annual rate or something, and those signs would be up. So that's something to kind of talk about in the future.
Any other questions? I think this looks great. Thanks, Todd.
Yep.
Okay, action items. Nothing to vote. Okay, board member reports. Staff reports.
One from me. Oh, I do, not really a report, but if you guys are interested, we have our spring summer activity guide out there if you want to grab one before you leave. Take a look at it.
So if the pool is not open, were we gonna do the drowning prevention at Eastern again?
Yeah.
But if it is open, we would do drowning prevention at the pool.
But it's not till like mid and end of July, so hopefully we'll be open.
Yeah, because one date's like August 2nd, but I can't think of what the other one was. It was at July?
Oh yeah, it was like July 27th or, I have to double check, but yeah, late July.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so on the lifeguards, so did Andrea get back and that is the only one at spring break is what she's teaching?
No, she's doing ones, spring break, it's Monday through Friday, and they're all day long. And then she's doing another one, that's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday for a couple weeks.
And is she gonna do that? Do we know what month she's doing that in?
I have it on my computer, I can grab it
And then the class I teach in April could get all the stragglers?
That'd be great to have 3,
Yeah,
because that would really only max 30 new people, right? Unless you can take more than 10 per.
Well, if Garth and I teach it together, we
Oh.
could take 20.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
Well, we were planning on teaching it together.
Cool.
So we could take up to 20, because you can only do one per 10 students. But we haven't had that many in so long of people even wanting lifeguard training. So I don't know what happened, right?
Andrea said
$5
no one's,
lifeguards, what?
Andrea said that so far no one signed up as of today.
For the next one she's
Yeah.
got up.
So, well, but then Kelly's got doing some recruitment and stuff though.
But like I said, kids are doing club sports now, and so they're not interested in working like what it used to be. So, yeah.
You can get some schools all over.
And if we get kids that say, well, I'm not a very good swimmer, but I'd like to learn, I'm more than willing to help.
and become a good swimmer?
Yes. And I'll even pay,
Because that's where my hockey player is at. He spends too much time on the ice. He's not a good swimmer.
well, and if we get, I would even be willing to pay their way into Eastern to learn.
Does he want a lifeguard?
He's looking for a job. Mom's looking for him to have a job.
Yeah.
He's got expensive hobbies.
So Kelly, what
Money
would,
is expensive.
School Camp Parks Foundation, is it $2,000 currently earmarked for scholarships?
Yes.
So there's a pool of money for people that want to take these classes that could get a little reimbursement.
What's the age?
So they have to be 15 of the day it starts.
Okay.
Or the day it ends.
Okay.
I have to really look.
Mine's 16, so we're good.
Yeah. Yeah, if, hopefully we get enough lifeguards. But maybe when you go out and talk about it, that you can tell them that there's scholarships available. Because us renting Eastern. So I just emailed Andrea and said, what if on Saturdays, we did the class from 11 to 1 and shared the first hour, and then we paid the second hour. But she hasn't responded back to see if we can keep down the cost, so it won't be so expensive.
And we do have those scholarships available too.
So if there's, Cheney high school kids that can't afford the scholarships would pay for it. So it's kind of hard to pay a class $260 when you're only working 3 months. But we could always pitch the fact that they could go to the Airway Heights Aquatic Center.
Or EWU.
Yeah, I don't know what their rule, they have some kind of rule of who they can hire the high school kids.
Oh.
I don't know if they have to be ready to start.
Yeah, it might be student employment.
Something.
Yeah.
I know that
But
she's
it's not
got
ready
a
to start.
couple, but I don't know what the rules are of how they hire
Yeah.
those guys.
How long does certification take?
2 years. 2 years.
So you get
And
two
then
summers out of them.
you can do a recertification class for like 12 hours compared to the 26 hours to retake the class. So once they take it, they can take a recertification class for 12 hours, and it's less money. So once they get it, they can keep their certification.
Do you have a flyer?
I have a flyer for the classes that are being offered. I don't have a flyer with that information.
I'm sorry, I mean for the, like, that you're taking to the high school to recruit.
Oh, I'm going to create one. I haven't made one yet.
I done one too.
Do you do the social media stuff, Kelly?
What?
Do you do the social media posts?
Mhm.
You do a great job.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, well, if no one else has any other questions, I think we can adjourn.